Lawmakers in both houses have introduced bipartisan measures calling for a congressional review of the Helsinki summit. It also reaffirms the findings of the intelligence community that Russia did indeed interfere with the election, and it calls on the Trump White House to fully implement the sanctions passed by Congress. And joining us now are the two sponsors of the House version of this legislation, Republican Congressman Leonard and Democratic Congressman Krishnamoorthi from Illinois. Gentlemen, thank you for spending time with us. I know today is that last day, or essentially day out from your 1-month recess, so let's get right into this. Congressman Lance, why is your resolution even necessary?
I think we have to reaffirm here on Capitol Hill that we support our intelligence agencies. Dan Coates is doing a terrific job. And also, I think that it's important that the Russian sanctions be fully implemented. And our resolution is identical with the resolution in the Senate, sponsored by Senators Flake and Coons.
Are you saying that this administration then isn't doing enough?
I think that the sanctions should be fully enforced, and I hope that the administration does that. And certainly, we on Capitol Hill in a bipartisan capacity believe, Anna, that the intelligence agencies are doing a terrific job.
Congressman Krishnamoorthi, did you learn anything valuable from Secretary Pompeo about what happened at that Trump-Putin summit?
Unfortunately, no. And it was a highly disturbing meeting that they did it in private. We don't know what was discussed. But the press conference after that meeting was equally distressing because the president drew a moral equivalence between what our law enforcement agencies and our intelligence community in America is doing to protect our democracy and what the Russians are doing to interfere in our democracy. And so it was so important to do a bipartisan resolution, to stand by our intelligence community, to reaffirm our belief in their assessment, and in my humble opinion, to reaffirm that we have to protect our democracy from Russian interference in the upcoming elections as well.
I mean, what I'm hearing you say is this is a symbolic gesture, maybe a message sent to the current administration of where Congress stands, but yet we saw this resolution proposed in the Senate, and essentially it's going nowhere. I want to forward, though, because I have a lot I want to talk to you about. Let's play another chunk from the hearing yesterday.
Has the president told you what he and President Putin discussed in their 2-hour closed-door meeting in Helsinki?
Presidents have a prerogative to choose who's in meetings or not. I'm confident you've had private one-on-one meetings in your life as well. You've chosen that setting as the most efficient way to...
I just asked you a simple question. Did you... You can't eat up my 7 minutes, Mr. Secretary. Did he tell you whether or not what happened in those 2 hours?
Yes, Senator. The predicate of your question implied some notion that there was something improper about having a one-on-one meeting. I completely disagree with the premise of your question.
I didn't ask you a predicate. I asked you a simple question. I hope we're going to get through it. Did he tell you what transpired in the 2-hour meeting?
I've had a number of conversations with President Trump about what transpired in the meeting.
Congressman Lance, of course, that was a Democratic senator pressing him there, but we heard it from both sides. And if the parties had been swapped, and that was Secretary of State Hillary Clinton sitting there during the Obama administration, would you have accepted those answers?
I think you raise a fair point, and I think that the administration should indicate what was the discussion between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, and I would like to know the answer here on Capitol Hill.
So you believe the American people deserve answers to what happened in that meeting and where this administration is headed in dealing with an adversary that interfered in this country's democratic systems?
Yes, I do.
All right, Congressman Krishnamoorthi, the White House says a second summit with Putin in Washington has now been postponed. What's your reaction?
I think that's the right move. We should not be having meetings with Vladimir Putin again until, first of all, we come to grips with the fact that Special Counsel Mueller has indicted 13 GRU officers for basically hacking into our democracy. Secondly, we still have various disputes with them with regard to Crimea, Syria, and other matters, and they haven't done anything to address those particular concerns. And so I don't think we should be meeting with them until we see some concrete action on the ground that actually acknowledges our concerns. And then last, I should note that Christopher Wray, the head of the FBI, recently said that the Russians are continuing their malign influence on our democratic system. We know in Illinois, in my home state, they hacked into 500,000 records of Illinois residents, and so much so that the Illinois Board of Elections had to actually inform people that their information is compromised. So we have to address all these concerns before we have any more summits with the Russian leader.
Congressman Lance, I want to ask about some of your colleagues, Mark Meadows and Jim Jordan, who seem to be spending an awful lot of energy and time going after the investigators in these matters versus the perpetrators. And these are the leaders in the House Freedom Caucus. They introduced a resolution to impeach Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein yesterday. And now we're learning there will not be a vote on this resolution today. But do you support this?
Absolutely not. I'm a member of the Tuesday lunch group. We're the moderate Republicans. We're not in the Freedom Caucus, and I support the Mueller investigation. I was the first Republican member of the House here on Capitol Hill to say that Jeff Sessions should recuse himself in matters related to Russia, and therefore the Deputy Attorney General became the person in charge, and of course he appointed Mr. Mueller. I do not favor impeachment in any way, shape, or form regarding the Deputy Attorney General, and I favor continuing the Mueller investigation to its conclusion.
Anna, this was a naked attempt to kneecap Mueller, okay? This particular article of impeachment claims that the FBI and the DOJ haven't turned over documents as part of the Oversight Committee's investigation of the FBI. I'm on the Oversight Committee. I've seen thousands of documents, hundreds and hundreds of text messages from various employees, and I can tell you that the FBI and DOJ have turned over almost everything asked of them except for one document that they acknowledge, which is the strategy memo that Mueller has written detailing the strategy behind his prosecution of the current case. That shouldn't be turned over. And so this particular impeachment resolution is just a total media stunt. It's not going to go anywhere, and if the House leadership is really serious about it, they would call it for a vote, which they're not.
Congressman Leonard Lance and Raja Krishnamoorthi,